people were saying that Snow White was gonna have this huge comeback like Elemental did. You know, they said that it would perform like Mufasa. You know, but it seems that Snow White, one of the worst movies of all time. You know, undoubtedly one of the worst movies ever published and created as well. But Snow White is a huge failure. Okay, we all saw this coming, and actually the numbers were actually too down from the initial numbers, which was 43 million. But it seems that that Snow White, one of the worst movies of all time. Okay, it has an average score of like 1.8 on IMDb, which I find pretty hilarious. Yes, the Snow White movie is so bad it's even worse than Dragon Ball Evolution, which I find pretty funny. Dragon Ball Evolution was dethroned as well here. And most of the people who are saying this movie is just terrible, and I think finally people are finally deciding to wake up to these garbage remakes, as well. Snow White, which has a 1.8 on IMDb, but the movie isn't having good ratings at all. Yeah. Here you can compare this to other movies that are also infamous flops. Like the Marvels as well. So the Marvels had a very similar drop from Sunday to Monday. Okay. Both movies had a very similar drop off. And yeah, this movie's gonna probably perform even worse than the Marvels. It's not gonna perform over $200 million domestic globally. It might. Actually, there's a possibility it might, but I just don't see it making that much money. Okay. And of course, we have Joker following the Dukes. The big infamous box office failure of 2024 by DC. Okay. And Joker following E Dukes dropped to around 1.8 million, but I think Joker had the smallest drop, but had the worst ratings. Okay. It seems that Snow White is performing in between both of them as well. I think Snow White will probably end up making $70 million domestically as well. Again, another Disney movie that had almost no competition. The Marvels had a similar drop-off on Monday. Okay, 74% drop. Snow White was 72%, I think. But Snow White, okay, dropped. Actually, Snow White's doing worse than the Marvels. It's at 76%. So Snow White is performing worse than the Marvels. Okay, performing worse than the Marvels. Okay, well, that's awful for Disney. Okay, awful for Disney and the Disney Corporation. Okay, this is the biggest box office failure of all time. I know people will be like, why you keep talking about Snow White? You're wasting your time. But it's the fact that people really think this is a good movie, but it really is not. And Snow White is a big, big box office flop as well. So, goodbye.